Hello, I'm Harry Stachini and you are listening to the Staff Room Podcast, the show where each week I share anonymous stories from teachers who are overworked, underpaid and close to a mental breakdown. So think of it as teacher therapy, as they remind us of all the troublemakers, class clowns and the flat-out criminals we all remember from school. So join me and my guests and hear what your teachers really have to say. And we're off, episode number 15 of the Staff Room Podcast. How's it going, everyone? Hope you're well. I'm in isolation for the fourth time, which is, I don't know if anyone can beat that. Maybe someone's had a fifth, but the fourth time in isolation. Sadly, my girlfriend has COVID. Thankfully, she's fine. She's absolutely fine. We're both just around each other, on top of each other, and not in the way you want to be. You know what I mean? No one is more disappointed about isolation than the dog. I mean, this is the third time he's been in isolation with me, and it's just the fact we can't leave the house. He's disappointed. He's not going for walks, and it's quite tense. His mood is low. He's currently sat next to me on the sofa, and he has a face like a smacked ass. Because dogs are very emotional creatures, aren't they? That's what I'm learning. You got to realise I came from a household of cats, right? I wasn't raised by them. My mum just had a few, cats are very independent. They just go where they want. They don't really need you. But that's kind of them down to a T. I think if you could lick parts of your body that they can, would you need anyone else? I don't think so. So the cats are very independent, as a dog does need you. You would never walk a cat. Maybe you do. Maybe you're a sociopath. I don't know. But a dog, there's a very close relationship with them. And at this moment in time, he's fuming. He's absolutely fuming. We're playing fetch in the garden most of the time. Sometimes up and down the stairs, we're feeling exciting. He did break his leg when he was 4 months old, so we're trying to make sure that doesn't happen again. But he's got to get his kicks somewhere. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'd be worse isolating with a cat. I don't know. Maybe they'd be like really snooty of you, almost like, okay, well you're ill. Okay, well I'm going out. You certainly couldn't play fetch with a cat. That's 100% sure. I mean, if you threw a ball expecting a cat to go and get it, they would just roll their eyes, look at you and be like, one doesn't play fetch, darling. As a dog, that for them is like, that's a dog's Netflix, playing catch, just over and over and over again, just like, let's just do another season, come on, throw it. But yeah, I'll get out of isolation soon, and 18th, I believe, next Friday, I can go back to work and I can go back to gigging. But yeah, until then, we're both going to be in the house and around each other. But other than that, I am all right. And I've got a great story to share with you today. It is coming from a teacher who has ended up becoming a football manager of the Year 9 team, Year 9 boys team, I believe. And it's got a little bit of everything in it, this episode. It's little anecdotes from their man management style of when they were working as the manager. Some of the highlights, some of the lows. It's got a little bit of everything, as I said. Definitely a bit of a blast for the past for me as well. Took me down memory lane when I think of my footballing days as a child, which I miss tremendously. Because I'm 26 now, and the only time I get to play football properly is with Year 6. And don't get me wrong, I thoroughly enjoy it. I'm the top goal scorer in Key Stage 2. I've not lost a header all term. But I really do miss my footballing days as a kid. So it's quite nice to have this story and be able to take that trip down memory lane, because you'll find out within the episode that essentially when I was a kid and playing football, my dad was an absolute psychopath, right? And you'll just hear about that within the episode. So, look forward to me opening the lid on some childhood trauma that I now look back on and God, that's definitely given me a thick skin in life. But yeah, you'll hear about that. And my guest for today is Josh Pugh, who perfectly suited for this story. Not only is he a fantastic comedian, he's also an England national team futsal player, which is essentially a fancy word for indoor football. And buzzing to have him on the show. I thought this would be great, get his insight, a professional here, right? Someone that's played at a very decent standard. And he's also a very, very good comedian, because me and Josh started, I want to say, within maybe a year or two of each other. But yeah, when he first started, he was collecting awards left, right and centre. He won the English Comedian of the Year award. And as a result of that, got to go and perform in Australia, doing his stand-up out there. But yeah, really, really excited to have him on the show. And if you're not familiar with who Josh is, you can definitely have a Google of him. I would say check him out on Twitter, right? He's at Josh Pugh Comic. Definitely go and check him out. His Twitter videos are great. And they're just, how do I explain it? They're like the little moments that you see in everyday life that he then embodies as a character and just puts it out on Twitter. Like, I don't know, I'm not selling this very well, but go and check out his Twitter feed. They're very, very funny. I will put it in the show notes as well, in case I've got his Twitter hashtag wrong there, but definitely worth checking out. Really, really good to have Josh on the show. We had a great old chat here, dived into his school days, which, as you know, I find that stuff really interesting because, different for everyone, but at the same time, very universal because we've all been to school. Unless you were homeschooled, and in that case, I don't know, yeah, sorry for you. But yeah, very, very good chatting to him. We dived into his school days, spoke a little about the fact he suffered with some sight loss, Josh, and he talks about that within the episode and how he dealt with it when he was at school. We also talk about Josh's coaching days when he was working with a young boys team and how he openly had a favourite and used to mention it to all the other lads to try and improve their game and raise their attitude. So you'll hear about that within the episode. Interesting to hear Josh's management style. Also, as well, he does tell a little story about the time he met England manager Gareth Southgate. Really nice one today. I'd probably say it's the most heartfelt episode we've had of the series, because, we both enjoy football. You can definitely hear that in the conversation. And, I get a lot off my chest. If you've ever seen me do stand-up, I talk about my dad quite frequently, but I imagine that you probably not heard the extent of my footballing days with my dad, a.k.a. Capello, on the sidelines. But yeah, it definitely made for a great episode, and Josh was a fantastic guest. And the teacher that sent the story in, perfect, because you set up what I feel is like a great episode. So without further ado, we will get cracking. This is me, Josh Pugh, and a Year 9 football coach who has no idea what they're doing. Enjoy.
My wife works in a school. She says so much of it is just like work avoidance, and the kids clock on if the clock on to the ones that get taken out for extra support because they're kicking off. Kids aren't daft; they'll just kick off to go for a game of rounders or whatever you get to do. But it's I think it
is true. What?
Sorry, mate.
So, hang on. So it's Lucinda, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right, Lucinda. Yeah.
Is she a teacher then?
She's a teaching assistant, but she, similar to you, she kind of has the challenging ones. The ones that kind of have is it an EHCP? Is that the words?
Yeah, EHCP.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it stands for, but if you've got one of them, it's like the golden ticket. You can take Play-Doh into lessons.
Yeah, that's what you want to get your hands on.
But yeah, how long has she been doing that?
She's done it. She used to work in a nursery before, and that's hard graft, in a nursery. It's the money's rubbish. It's long hours.
It is. It's the pay is shit, and the hours, like at school you at least finish at 3, but nurseries it's like 5:30.
Yeah, and it can start earlier as well, because obviously it's literally just childcare. And then she's done this for about 3 or 4 years, and she likes it. To be fair, she likes the holidays. But I don't know, you'll probably get this, but when the terms come to an end, she's ready for the break. Do you know what I mean? She's knackered.
Yeah, I think people, especially over like the COVID period, have definitely got a bit more of appreciation for like the type of shit teachers and like staff within schools have to deal with.
Yeah.
Because, you'd be so surprised the amount of parents that believe their child is exactly the same at home as they are in school.
Yeah.
And you're just like, it's just not the case. Even like the most well-behaved ones in the class like are going to be different than what they are at home.
Definitely.
When you've got a kid who's like, I had a kid a few weeks ago threatened to stab me up with a pair of scissors. You know what I mean? And it's like, Well, is he doing that at home? No. It's like, well, well, he's a different kid than any, so you've got to work on his behaviour.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't know.
I used to do a kids' football team. I used to do a junior football team. I used to coach them.
All right.
And you'd have lads, and they were so into it, and they were so well behaved, but it's because they were doing something they loved. But then, if you put if you put them in something that they weren't into, if you put them into a math lesson or an English lesson, they're just it would be unrecognisable.
Yeah. Well, what year group was that you were coaching?
So I had them from under 7s till under 12s. So from basically year 3 till they went to year 7.
That's all right.
Yeah, it was
and this
great.
Is like on like a Saturday type thing.
Yeah, I used to train on a Tuesday and then matches would be on a Saturday. Great, lovely kids, and actually a lot of them now have just turned 18, so I see them about. If I go for a drink in the town, I see them about. And but they're all lovely lads. Do you know what I mean? None of them are into anything they shouldn't be into. They're all I'm not saying it's all. I'm not saying I'm Coach Carter, mate, but they've turned out all right.
Coach Carter in the Midlands.
Yeah. If you watch that Last Chance You on
do you know? Netflix. I haven't, but I've seen it pop up on like my suggested feed.
Yeah, the basketball one, mate.
Yeah,
especially doing what you do. Watch that, and the guy's called Coach John Mosley, and it's about kids that are about to go, like the last chance to get a scholarship, basically. And he's like pushing them hard. He's like, teaching them about life. It's wicked, man.
I'll give it a go because do you know what I think sport is very, very good for like teaching kids many lessons and many games within games, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Without getting all too spiritual, but like effectively, like life's a game. You're playing it at many different levels and at different speeds and at different turnings and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And when you do find a kid who is a bit off the rails or just a bit lost, like most of the kids I work with just need a level of positivity in their life.
Yes,
and like for instance, there was one lad who I only worked with briefly, but this was in a PRU, and he used to come out the classroom. A PRU's like a pupil referral unit, by the way, so like they send all the naughty kids there. But this kid, he would come out the classroom, and because you couldn't get out of the corridors because it was all like key carded and locked, he would just sprint like 30-meter dashes non-stop, and he was so fast.
Really?
And I just, like lightning. And I just said to him, I was like, "You're really, really fast at running, just trying to diffuse the situation." And just dead plainly, he was like, "Yeah, well, I run all the time from the police." And immediately I was like, "That's not a normal thing,
Yeah.
It's like he viewed the chase as a gym membership, but for him. After that, I said, maybe you should think about doing athletics. And he'd never heard it before. Like, it just not even been suggested.
Yeah.
And he looked at me like, what do you mean? It was like, track and field, like 100 meters, athletics. And it was like, oh, right. And you see his like eyes just kind of widen to go, there's more to, the world than what I already think there is.
Yeah, or it's like, it's that realisation that their super strength exists outside of the curriculum, because that can happen. The curriculum. 100%. You might not be good at maths, English, science, RE, but you might be brilliant at something that just isn't.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's about finding that, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, no, well, Freddie Quinn made a point of that on episode 4. It was like school's really good for testing your recall ability. Yeah. But when you've got different levels of intelligence, whether you're quite practical, hands-on, or you've just, you've got that like entrepreneurship in you where you can just make something from nothing.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily, there's no lessons on that in school anyway.
But that's where you have to use their, I speak like somebody who knows anything, but that's where you have to use their thing. So if this thing is running, well, you need to work out your PBs, so you need maths. You need to get yourself to these races, so you need IT. You need, to see everything feeds in. Everything can feed
whether
into
it be like bits and bobs of it. But I get what you mean. You're trying to like make it personal to them in a way that's interesting and engaging, because then if that falls in line, everything else does behind it.
Yeah.
But I'll give you a bit of context, right? Because I don't know if you've listened to any of the episodes, and it's fine if you haven't. But the long and short of it is, it's not really a parents' evening, this podcast. So you're gonna probably hear things from a teacher that you wouldn't normally hear because all the stories are anonymous. So a little bit of context for the story before we get into it, right? It's coming from a secondary school football coach, okay, who worked with a year 9 group of lads, yet their expertise within football pretty much non-existent, right? And this story kind of features a few of their management, career highlights, so to speak. So I thought perfect to get you on because I know you play football at a decent standard, haven't you?
Yeah, I've always played football, man, and I still play as much as I can. And at school, go on, mate.
No, at school. Were you playing then?
Yeah, I played at school. Played for the school. Interestingly, our school we didn't have I don't know what was going on in my school really. We didn't have a PE teacher really. We didn't really have a maths teacher. One of the lads, one of our mates who couldn't really play football, just ran the team.
Right. Okay. So a student ran the team.
A student ran the team. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And that was fine.
It was because he wouldn't have had a team else. I don't know what was going on. I'm not sure if our teacher was into hockey.
Right. So, did that student get any perks like entry to the staff room? Or
no, he was still very much. But interestingly, so the lads still have like a Sunday league team. We're all getting a bit older now, and he is he's a designated linesman every week. So he's kind of carried on that being involved, but not on the peripheries. You know what I mean? And he just cheat.
Yeah.
His thing is to go every week and just cheat and try and get an advantage for the team. His saying is,
I'm not a fan of VAR. You know what I mean?
No, he's not.
If that comes in, he's ruined, mate.
If you're 5 yards onside, you're offside. That's his approach to the opposition. Interesting guy.
So, when you were playing at school, what were you centre half?
I was very little at school, so I was right back or right wing.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
I was small. I was kind of. I'm an late August birthday.
Oh right, I'm at August 8th.
Yeah, mate. So were you the same? You're quite small at school.
No, I was. I'll say like average height, really.
Yeah.
I was chubbier. I had a bit more timber on me.
Yeah.
And I used to play left wing, but I had no pace, like zero pace playing football. But I could cross a ball and head a ball. So my tactic was to like whip it in between halfway line and 18-yard box.
Beckham,
whether there was someone in the box or not, you know what I mean? It was a danger ball.
Yeah.
But yeah, my footballing ability was I could do a job, but like my dad was very gifted at football. Played for like Manchester schoolboys and
yeah. Which in Manchester that's hard, isn't it? In Manchester, that's not like you can play for where I live. You can play for the district and not be very good. Whereas in Manchester, everyone's automatically better at football.
Yeah, but then I think because I was not at the standard he was at, that was always a bit of there was a few sighs on the drive home from matches.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's not quite there. But like my cousin was at City for until he was about, I think, 17.
Yeah.
And he was at Sheffield Wednesday, and then he was at Motherwell. So there are gifted football players in our family. I'm someone that'll do a job, but you wouldn't trust me on a free kick.
But that's not actually bad, that's probably quite healthy for yours and your dad's relationship. It just takes it out the equation. Like if you were really decent as a kid, it automatically you get into this. He's pushing you. Is it you? Is it him that wants it? Whereas when that's off the table, it's just okay. This is just something we can both enjoy.
Oh well, I'll talk about that more within the episode because it was not that.
Oh, okay.
But before we get into the story, like you mentioned you play football at school. I always enjoy trying to find out from the guests like what the school days were like, right?
Yeah.
So I want to take just a bit of a punt. Okay, I reckon you were probably middle of the road at school, right? I reckon you weren't a gobshite at all. I don't think you would have been any trouble, and probably very likeable.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong there, Harry. I was kind of a floater.
That's 3 for 3 I've had with guests, mate.
I could kind of get in with any group, really. There was like the really hard kids who would never give me any trouble. There was the sporty kids who I was kind of with them the most. there was like you get your goths and your emos. I was kind of, and the music, people that are into music, I could be with it. I was kind of like a bit of a chameleon, really.
An everyman.
Yeah. But also I find, because if I ever did anything bad, the teachers were almost more gutted. They took it more personally if I'd done something wrong.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Josh, now we thought you were we thought you were good, and now you've been a little fucker today.
Was it rough, your school, or was it all right?
Yeah, it was quite rough. Not nothing like knives or anything like that, but it was just a bit shit.
Right. Okay.
About not enough textbooks, or the facilities were poor. Yeah, rather than, it wasn't somewhere you'd ever, it's not like a dangerous school. There'd be stuff that happened and whatever, but not like, God, I would never send my kids there. It's just needed funding. Do you know what I mean? It was just not very good.
So you like knew where the line was with teachers. You didn't never tell a teacher to fuck off.
No, and that's speaking about like comedy and stuff. I think that's what being a comedian is. It's knowing where the line is. It's playing the room. It's knowing I can get away with this, and I'm still on the right side of what's acceptable. And the closer you can get to it without going over it, the better it is. Do you know what I mean? And you can push it more because I've come into this classroom. This is like a set. If I've come into the classroom, I'm likable for the first 10 minutes. I can start pushing my luck a bit, and whereas you come in, you start hammering the audience straight away. Nobody's going to take to it. So it's just, I just relate everything to comedy. But yeah, I think there's something in that.
Last night I was doing a gig, and I crossed that line for 5 minutes of material and refused. I was like, I'm doubling down. I'm getting through this bit, and by the end of the 5 minutes, this girl was sat second row, and I looked at her and said, "Do you want me to stop talking about what I'm talking about?" And she just nodded silently.
Oh dear.
Like, okay, for another room. But like, I tried the piece of material elsewhere, and it murdered. Like, it did really well.
Yeah.
And then I tried it last night, and I was like, I didn't know if the joke worked or didn't work.
Yeah.
I've only had 2 reactions, and they were so different.
That's really hard when you got a bit like that, isn't it? That's so hard.
Yeah, but so school days were good. They weren't an issue or anything like that.
No, I quite liked it. I was I did quite like school. My bit different. My eyesight started getting really bad when I was like 15, 16. So,
right. Okay.
So I couldn't really access anything. I couldn't access textbooks or what was on the board. So I was a bit of a fucker then. Actually, I was a bit naughty then. Rather than accept help from somebody or admit I couldn't, I was struggling. I made out I wasn't interested and was a bit rebellious then.
Yeah, that was your way of dealing with
it. Yeah. But I think that's how a lot of 15, 16-year-old lads deal with a lot of things, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then if it gets to their 30s and the 40s, the good chances are they're going to be married a few times,
Yeah, no, agreed. But my school was set. I had 1 or 2 brilliant teachers, like really, really top teachers. We had a maths teacher that came. We didn't have a maths teacher until year 10 at my school. We had substitute maths teachers until like year 10. And this guy came in
every day, like a new teacher every day.
Yeah,
hell.
Honestly, so poor. But we had this guy coming in year 10, mate, and he was incredible. He was the best. And I hate maths, so I'm not good at maths. But he was superb. He was absolutely brilliant. Mr. Hammond, his name was brilliant.
What made him stand out? Just his style.
It was a geek. Do you know what I mean? It was a geek. He wasn't like cool coming in, sitting on a chair. He'd turn around, so arms up on the back of it. Yeah. It was just brilliant, and he just made it feel easy.
That's good.
Yeah, it was so good, man.
When you've got a good teacher, it's like really easy to buzz off, and as you say, like the lessons that are dull become interesting. But at the same time, I think it's not the lesson that's interesting; it's the person that's interesting.
Yeah.
And by default, that kind of overspills. Because having worked in a few schools, I've worked with some teachers where I go, I can't understand why you're actually in a school, because it seems like there's zero enthusiasm coming out of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's the personality. That's what you can't teach, isn't it? You can't you can't curate someone's personality, unfortunately. My little brother's doing A-level maths at the moment, and he's finding it so hard. Like, he's decent at maths, but A-level is a different level at maths. Yeah. So to find a good maths teacher, you need somebody who is that level at maths, like superb at maths, has got enough charisma to sell it, and 3, wants to do it.
Oh yeah.
So the pool of people, it must be tiny.
Yeah, I think if I'd even attempted A-level maths, my head would have exploded.
Yeah.
My GCSE maths revision, we had a guy called Mr. Langeveld, who was a South African teacher, and he would mix in the lesson with talking about when he was a black guy, and we lived in South Africa through apartheid, and he was like, so we'll do a bit of Pythagoras, and then I'll tell you about when I was in a riot and petrol bombed a shop. And I was like, brilliant, you know.
Yeah.
It kept us engaged, but I suppose we didn't get through all the work, but that was his way of going, this is a very low ability, low attention span classroom, so you know, I'll throw in some mixed martial arts and fractions and we'll get through.
Yeah. What were you, Harry, at school? Were you decent, or were you?
I was low ability, right? Okay, but like I had work ethic, right, and that was purely because like there was no half-arse in it in my family at all, right? There was like zero excuse, and it kind of I'll explain later about the football as well, but you just had to try, right? That was it. No matter how good or bad you were, just try.
Yeah.
And I think it served me quite well, because as I've got older, like I did well in my GCSEs. I got 5 Bs, 4 Cs, and 1 D. When I was predicted, like, total garbage. I was basically told there's no chance he's going to go to uni. He needs to do something with his hands. Like, he's not academic. And then I don't know. I just kept trying, and eventually it clicked.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think I wasn't stupid or anything like that.
Yeah, but I think just alongside that, Harry, you actually need some level of self-belief alongside that work ethic. Do you know what I mean? I think you have to believe that you can do it. You must on some level believe that I'm finding this hard, but it is within. It's not beyond me.
Well, yeah, but my approach was like, well, if I don't do anything, then I'm just going to stagnate, and that was like a terrifying thought to just think. I knew I wanted to move away. I knew I had like an idea of what I wanted to do when I was older. I didn't think it was going to be comedy, but I knew and was told, like, if you work hard, you give yourself options, and if you've got options, you can go and do whatever you want, really. Because, you know, my dad came from a proper shite background, and you know, he did really well to get himself to where he was, but he was just like, essentially, if you want to do well in life, you've got to knuckle down. And it doesn't guarantee it, but you know, you've got more chance than someone that's half-arsing it. And I think that's why now when I work with kids, that I'll say to him from the get-go, I can't push someone that doesn't want to move, right? So if you don't want to do it, tell me now, because I'm not going to bother. But if you want to give it a crack, I'll help you. Because when people are bitching and moaning and going, oh, this is really hard, but they're not doing anything about it, that's when I have a problem. And I just go like, well, you know, carry on being frustrated and angry for the next 5-6 years. And just, you know, eventually you'll click and go, that was a total waste of time. But I'm not going to sit here every day and try and, you know, massage your ego into a position that makes you want to work. Because there's a kid sat over the other side of the classroom who's got, you know, the ability's so low, but they're actually giving it a crack. And I just think, well, yeah, I'll go. Mate,
I feel absolutely pumped listening to this, genuinely. I feel ready to go. I'm pumped. I'm ready to go BBC Bite Size right now as soon as we finish this.
I know, yeah.
Is that still going, BBC Bite Size?
It is, mate. Yeah. It pops up in a few lessons, which is... I never really used it as a kid, but...
Yeah, I used to go on that, because you get the people... A lot of girls in my class used to do it. Like they'd keep they'd spend an hour colour coding a revision timetable, but they're not actually doing any of it. Like, just what do you know? What don't you know? And trying.
Well, yeah. Before I get into this, right? Before I get into the story, is it futsal you play now?
Futsal, yeah.
Futsal, right? And this is I've definitely seen you in an England jersey. Unless it's you and your mates getting together and all deciding we're going to wear England strips.
Yeah.
How did you get into the England side for futsal?
So I played for the England party-sided futsal team, and I've played for England futsal as well. And so I mentioned my site earlier. I was a good player really as a kid, but looking back now, the stuff in my eyes started earlier than that. So
right.
I remember when it went to 11. Like I was small-sided football. I was really good, and like when it went to 11 side, I was still like a good, but I wasn't as good. Then eventually, I just kind
of. Is this because like seeing things from a distance? Stuff
yeah,
like
but
that?
I didn't really know that was what was going on. And obviously, when you grow and you put it down to, oh, Josh hasn't grown yet, or he's in a bit of a phase where he's a bit, and so yeah, as I got older, basically the FA kind of heard about me basically, because there's not lots of players that play and have got low vision. So when one comes up, they kind of get you and kind of bring you in.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So a lot of the lads we've got, they've either been professional and have had some kind of accident. We had one lad who got acid chucked in his eye when he was played for Newcastle, and then there's another lad at Peterborough at the minute who's kind of had a brain thing. Anyway, so yeah, they basically find you. There's like things in place to. It's like the Matrix. You know what I mean? They're coming.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've played for about 10 years. About 10 years now.
That's decent.
Yeah, it's a brilliant experience. Great experience. I actually opened. We had talk about the facilities at my school. There was had a new AstroTurf built, and I actually cut the ribbon on the AstroTurf. All these kids thinking, "Who's this in a fucking England tracksuit? Who's this prick?" It's not Jack Grealish.
Did he make Gareth Southgate's Euro squad?
Yeah, mate. Funny about actually Gareth Southgate. Our old manager in England, Graham Keeley. He's like high up at the FA. Like he just helps basically design the badges, the coaching courses. And Gareth Southgate was doing his A licence, and he was tutoring him. And before we flew to a tournament, once Gareth Southgate came in to meet the lads, and because I genuinely thought he was a waiter in the hotel because he had like a waistcoat on.
Yeah.
And at a distance, unless you say, if I'm stood at a distance, unless you say this is Gareth Southgate.
Yeah.
I ain't going to know it's Gareth Southgate. So he's just stood with a guy.
Buy the Stella, please, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Mate, can you get some bread rolls, please? But yeah. But he was a really nice guy, Gareth Southgate. Really good guy.
That's ace, man.
Yeah.
That's it. I feel like you're going to relate a lot to this story because, albeit it's at school level, I've been trying to pair the stories up with the guests. So football's for you.
Lovely.
If anything jumps out to you as I read this out, feel free to jump in at any point.
Okay, and this is a real story. This is someone.
Real story, all anonymous. So I just know the fact that the member of staff that sent it in is a man. Right, that's all I know. They've not mentioned where the school is. So I'll get cracking. It is a bit of a long one, but we'll get through it. All right.
Ready.
Sweet. Here we go. So. Hello, the staff room. I've been teaching a year and thought that in order to develop my relationships with some of the lads that I taught, as well as those in my form group, that I should start going to football matches after school. I had taken up a Year 9 class in my first year of teaching and they were a bit of a struggle. Year 9 is that difficult second album where they're not quite lower school anymore, but still not allowed to sit at the back of the bus or push to the very front of the dinner queue without the danger of being lamped by a Year 11 with a gym membership. Also, one of my form class students had earwigged me having a conversation about them to another member of staff and heard me calling them a nightmare. It had gotten back to the form and they weren't very happy. But I wasn't too bothered as most of them were nasty little posh oinks. Right, so they've not mentioned where the school is, but I feel like it's in a very affluent area.
I'm feeling Southerners straight away, Harry, to be honest.
Southerners?
Yeah.
You can see the postcode. Right. Anyway, fast forward a few weeks and I'm shivering my ass off on the sidelines as the team were getting fucking battered. Now, it doesn't matter how shit the team are, staff are compelled to shout encouraging things at them, and I revelled in this. Now, this is a bit when you said about like my dad and me at football. That was a memo that my dad never got, okay? Because like from the age of 9, I was spoken to like a 45-year-old man, okay? So when I played football, I have very vivid memories. One that springs to mind first off was I must have been about 10, right? And I'm running down the sideline. As I say, I wasn't very fast, right? Used to cross the ball from the halfway line. And my dad shouted, "Don't run too fast, Harry. You might actually catch up with the ball," right? And I remember hearing parents laugh on our team and the opposition's team, and just thinking, okay, like this is horrendous. And there were times when my dad was always honest with me when I played football. So if I played bad, I knew about it, right? Or if, like, even if we won 2-0, but I still played bad, I knew about it. So I respected the honesty.
Yeah.
But when, the manager might be like, all right, lads, let's just give it another go, second half. My dad would like pull me aside and go, that was bollocks, right? That was absolutely shite. You've got to get your head on this, right? Because otherwise I'm going to get you playing netball. Okay, right, we'll get your skirt fitted after this. So I'd wipe the tears away and then head back on the pitch. So football was great, and I really, really enjoyed it. But yeah, it definitely helped me develop a thick skin as I got older.
I know that's not how you'd advise, but it makes you want to please them. I bet you really wanted. Mm-hmm. I bet you really wanted to do it, and I bet you did. I bet it did get more out of you.
Yeah, well, yeah, I responded to it definitely. Yeah. Like I wasn't a timid kid. Yeah. There were times where I think I'd get upset more than anything because of the fact I was getting frustrated, right? And then say if I'd had a bollocking, right, and then I'd a really good 20 minutes after that, my dad would be like, see, I knew you had it in you. And like, that's what I mean. I respected his honesty because he'd always say to me, like, I'm not going to lie to you. So, if you got walloped 4-0, you can't say to someone you played well, can you, really?
No.
So when the manager would say that, he'd be like, you got twatted 4-0. You know what I mean? It's like, I know you're not sitting in the front of the car, sit in the back.
Yeah. No McDonald's for you.
Yes, yeah, exactly. No McDonald's for you. But when I got to about 14, 15, like me and my dad have a very good relationship. But I remember one time I was running down the wing and he's just like, fucking yap in my ear. And I just turned around. I went, just shut the fuck up, will you? And he didn't speak to me for 3 weeks, right? Only when we went to football, right? Just didn't speak to me for 3 weeks. And then on the third week, on the Saturday, I was like, you've not said a word. Like, what's going on? He said, well, you told me to shut the fuck up 3 weeks ago. I was like, you child. But yeah, that's like in a nutshell my football experience.
That's the worst feeling, isn't it, when you're a kid, when you're frustrated. You're angry and you're crying. You don't know why you're crying. It's frustration. You don't know what the emotion is.
Oh, mate.
I never forget. When I was at really little school. It's the first time I'd ever seen an adult get it wrong, and it was like my eyes just opened up to the world. Like in that moment, it's just such a small thing on a table. There was a pea in the middle of the table, and this lad went to get the pea and put it on his plate. As his arm stretched out, the teacher comes round the corner and says, "You're flicking peas," goes mad. He's like, no, I wasn't. And his face, it was like injustice and like frustration. And I was like, no, he what? And it was like, it's such a small moment, but also a massive moment. I'd seen an adult get it wrong. He was genuine to what he was saying. It wasn't doing it. It's like,
Did your alibi help him?
No, I wasn't credible. I think I had actually been flicking peas earlier. I don't think I was. But that was like, he was like my Andy Dufresne in that moment. He was like, I'd seen someone innocent being told off. Yeah.
First time you saw him walk into Shawshank Primary.
Yeah, that's it. But do you know what I mean? It's that moment, like, you saw an adults, they're in charge, they know everything. But I've just, but they've got it wrong. And it's like, it just blew everything open to me.
Yeah, well, I think when you're a kid, you look at an adult as a very 2D flat image,
Yeah.
And then as you get older and you realise, like I did anyway, especially with like parents and whatnot, like, oh, there's 3D, like there's flaws and, mistakes and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But, when you're running down the wing and you've got Capello on the sideline going mad at you, you're just like, God, I really hope we beat Leighton Buzzard.
How good does it feel, though, when someone else's parents cheer for you? Do you mean that to me felt as good as my own parents? I know that's probably says more about me. I'm wanting to impress someone else's mum and dad rather than my own. But my mum and dad are very chilled. They would never shout at the sideline, I don't think.
Oh well, yeah. My dad was like every coach's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Right? My football coach actually said to me after one training session. This was when I was about 14, 13. He was like, Harry, just come here for a sec. He said, basically, I just don't like the way your dad talks to you, right? And I was like, he's fine. Like, he's absolutely fine. I was almost puzzled at the fact he pulled me aside. So I then got back from training, and my dad was like, I was training. And I was like, it's all right. I said, mind you, though, Frank did mention something to me. And then my dad was like, right, get in the car now. And I remember we didn't actually driving down that day, but the next day at the match, my dad had a word with Frank.
Yeah.
And my dad was a passionate man, right? But essentially, he basically just said to me, he was like, I've raised 4 kids, mate. Like, don't tell me how to raise my kids. If they're getting twatted 4-0, he's not played well, I'll tell him, right? I'm not going to lie to him. And that's what I mean. Like, I respected that because it's like, I don't know, like if for the ones that are playing really well and then you're crediting someone, it's like handing out a 6th place ribbon, right? It doesn't do anyone any favours who finish 1st or 2nd because they're like, fucking hell, you got to finish 6th and you still get one. So, in my opinion, I'd rather go without any praise if it's not warranted than get something and it feel phony.
I can say that. And then when because when you get it, then it feel it's genuine. I suppose that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's like when the lads I've worked with, when they fuck up, I'll tell them.
Yeah.
It's not like I lose my lid, but I'll just be like, you're in the wrong.
Yeah.
But when you give them praise, I make sure I double down on that. And it's like, spot on today, or like, that was really good. You got to realise how, you manage that situation way better than you have in the past.
Yeah, that's the one, isn't it? Six months ago, you would have put a table through a window, whereas today,
exactly.
Just picked a chair up and then put it back down again. So it's that is progress.
That is exactly it. Yeah.
But that's
the chair didn't go as far today, so we're happy about that.
What we're talking about there is exactly what you just said about the ribbon, isn't it? Because it kind of contradicts, because you're kind of praising that kid, but whereas the kid who sat all through the lesson beautifully and worked, they're not getting any. Yeah. But it's relative to.
That's a good point, actually.
So it's relative to their potential, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah. That is a good point. Maybe I'll just stop doubling down on it now. I'll have that in the back of my mind.
Yeah. No praise for anybody.
Yeah. You used to praise me, but then I spoke to Josh Pugh and I realised it's bollocks, right? So, Jessica, you can have 10 dojos because you've sat there and been brilliant.
I used to, they'd probably call it modelling, but I used to, when I had the kids team, I'd openly have favourites. So there's this lad called Callum. He was a really good player, lovely lad. And the other kids were like, Callum's your favourite. And I was like, yeah, 100% Callum's my favourite. He listens to me. He's doing everything I'm asking him to do. Callum is 100% my favourite. And
and would that make him compete?
But they'd kind of try and do what he was, the things I liked about him, they would try and emulate.
That's a way to go.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, but they used to do it. Neil Warnock used to do it with Phil Jagielka. You remember Phil Jagielka, like a footballer?
Yeah, I know.
When it was raining, he'd go and stand next to him with an umbrella. So I don't want Phil to get wet. Like, he openly had a favourite. I think there's something in it. I do think there's something in it.
That's hilarious. Right, hang on. There's a bit more to this story. Right, so where were we up to? Shouting encouraging things. Right, the head of PE saw how malleable I was and eager to get something on my CPD record, and one day asked me to lead a training session. Now, let me get this straight. My limit of footballing knowledge went as far as Andy Gray's commentating phrases on FIFA 2002, such as, if you don't hit the target, you're never going to score. The head of PE also got me a Wenger-style black and red below-the-knee coat that he'd found in the PE changing rooms, so it stank of sweat and links. I wore it with pride anyway. For the first training session, I had the lads doing little passing thingies. 2 rows of lads passing the ball horizontally and diagonally. I blurted out, "That's it, lads. Good stuff. Pass and move. It's the fabric of the game." One of the lads must have picked up the phrase and recognised it. Well, he instantly became my captain. I had to keep him on side, literally, as he was a forward. See, nice little pun in there. Stuff. So a training session became a game, and I became a manager overnight. The games were pretty eventful. We went to one school, and the teacher of the opposite team, I heard, was a lovely guy and worked as a spiritual support officer in a faith school, right? Whatever that is, I'm not entirely sure. He was well respected within the community too, yet on the football field, well, the worst all-weather pitch you could ever imagine, he was a monster and turned into the love child of Roy Keane and Duncan Ferguson. We were all skidding and sliding all over the place, and he would be shouting at his team, proper angry, "Get into him! Come on, lads, exploit! Skin him!" Which was my dad's personal favourite. Skin him! Let him know you're there. I'm no expert, but I'm pretty sure that wasn't one of Jesus' sayings. Were they any of the terms you used when you were coaching?
I remember as a kid, you're just getting phrases shouted at you.
Yeah.
And I was the other team had the ball, and one of the parents shouted "jockey him," and one of the lads on our team started like whipping him like with his hand, like because obviously that was in his mind what jockeying was to like try and like ride him like some kind of.
That's hilarious.
It's just
mate, you're getting booked for that. Well, I didn't touch him. I was jockeying him.
But it's it's just jargon, and we used to do a thing as well as kids called fouling football, where you just be like 10 minutes in the playtime where you just were allowed to foul everyone. It was just carnage. Like you wonder why we're not winning World Cups and developing players. It's because we're just kicking lumps out of each other by choice.
Yeah, there's no way you could do that in the place I'm working at. No way. It would turn into a riot.
Really?
Yeah. Someone would punch you the ball with their teeth.
Yeah, we weren't even allowed a ball actually at school. I remember I was playing with like a bottle top at like junior school.
Really?
Yeah, like what would you not let? You're occupying like 20 of the most boisterous individuals. Just give them a football and let them. It doesn't make sense to me, but yeah.
Yeah. Mind you, the only time I get to play football now is with Year 6.
Yeah.
And I thoroughly enjoy it.
I'm
the top goal scorer in Key Stage 2, mate. Right? Like I've not lost a header all year. Right? Just towering above them.
I bet they love that you play though, don't they? I bet the lads love it that you play. When they
they enjoy it. They say to me like, you can't shoot or you can't whack it. And like obviously I don't go ham, but there's a few particular students who think they're God's gift, right?
Yeah.
And have a bit of an attitude and a swagger, and they really go in hard on other people.
Yeah.
But because the other lads in their year group don't really have enough about them to say something to them, when they go in on me, I don't really pull out, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they'll turn around and go, "You can't do that." And I go, "You do that to everyone else and no one bats an eyelid."
Yeah.
I said, so when it comes back at you, you've got to be able to suck it up and take it there.
Yeah.
And that's probably, the voice of my dad in the back of my head going, don't let someone push you about. But like them kids that are like that, they'll might say, "Let's give him a wedgie," and I'll make a point of going, "Yeah, and then when we've done him, we'll do you."
Yeah.
And they just shut up immediately, and it's like, yeah, because he doesn't want his pants up his ass, and neither do you. So just take the penalty.
Yeah.
But yeah, right, back to it. It says, as the games came and went, it was apparent that the team was on its arse. So the school brought in a Spanish cover teacher who started making them watch Barcelona play and getting them to try and do tiki-taka against teams who were lobbing the ball into the box. We'd become a laughing stock. The lads on our team couldn't string together a sentence, let alone a couple of passes. Which, what a way to try and solve the problem. We'll get the Spanish teacher in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Is he from Spain? No, he just went to Barcelona a few years ago. Perfect. I remember at one training session, some lad turned up with a double-barreled name. You already ate him. I did anyway. A proper tit. I can't remember his name, so just think of a dickhead in your life. Anyway, this lad was never good enough to make the team, but all his mates were on it, and my approach to training was pretty no-nonsense. Yet he strides up, gets the bag of balls, kicks a few all over the place, and then smashes one into someone's head. See, I told you he was a dickhead. While I sent him back to the changing rooms and watched him walk away, I thought if anyone needs a ball lashing at their heads more, it was that numpty. Right, he wasn't the only lad who tested my man management. One lad in my class who was awful at football, but just chatted shit and ran about a bit. He was mixed race, and in form one day, he cornered me. He said, "Sir, I know the reason why you don't pick me. It's because the colour of my skin." I didn't have many hairdryer moments, but clearly this lad thought that because my frame resembled Ron Atkinson, that my views did also. I bollocked him outside, right? And a bollocking that rises up from your stomach, high-fives your diaphragm on the way out, and something unrecognisable emanates from your mouth. It was a bollocking on an epic scale. A few people poked their heads out of the classroom to see what the commotion was. You need to sit down after a bollocking like that. It can make or break you. Luckily, it had the desired effect. But what pissed me off most was that this lad's comments can not just get a man fired, but banned from teaching, and I hated his selfish approach just because he wasn't regularly getting picked. No, thank you. You can fuck right off. As I say, mate, not something you'd say on a parents' evening.
And is that the end of the story?
No.
I was going to say, I thought that was the end. Just him being accused of racism.
Yeah,
and that's
racism. But that's, mate, the amount of times I had a kid make a joke about me being a paedophile.
Yeah.
And like made it to me. You know what I mean? It wasn't like behind my back.
Yeah.
And I went, I know you're joking. But I was like, but that is essentially that's something we can't joke about. And he was like, yeah, but I am only joking. I was like, yeah, I know that, but let's just if you read that out in court dry, what you've just said,
and that's what it is.
Throw away the kid.
And that's what it is. It gets written. It gets written on an instant form.
Yeah,
Mr. Stakini. Do you mean it? Kieran says that Mr. Stakini is a paedophile.
Yeah, the words were, why does he follow you about all the time to the lad I work with?
Yeah.
And he looked at me and went, you're a paedophile. And I was like, that's funny. That was a good joke.
Yeah.
I was like, but I said, see what you're doing there. I was like, wrong time, wrong place. I didn't lose my head. I was just like, you got to realise how damaging and inflammatory them words can be.
Yeah.
Considering where we are. It's like some kids have grabbed hold of another kid and gone, he's raping me. And I'm like, don't say that on a playground, because, you know, if I did, I'd have to hand me lanyard in. So, you know, just be wary of like time and a place and kind of context.
It's somebody said the word fraped the other day. Remember people used to like Facebook rape. It seems the word feels far too strong for just writing on someone else's wall.
Yeah. Did you ever have a frape that people actually believed?
I've never had one. No, it's always like,
no,
I love black cock or something like that. And
right, my sister wrote a really sincere one about me coming out as gay, right? And my mum actually messaged me to say, if you want to talk about it, it's fine.
Yeah, it's the sincere ones. That's the believable.
Yeah, I think it started with something. It was like I've been thinking about this for a while, but you know, like here it goes. And it was, I think there was even a few typos in it, which made it even more believable. But yeah, I just remember mum being like, "It's fine." I was like, "What's fine?" I was like, "Oh fucking hell, Jordan's had me off here." Right, back to it. It said, it wasn't all bad, right? We did have a little ringer, a messy type who played centre defensive midfield, centre mid and centre attacking mid. All over really, and he was quick. He never stopped running, and he was being scouted by Manchester City and thought he had a career in football, so didn't try too hard in lessons. Sadly, it never worked out, and he works in Next now, which happens for a lot of lads. Like, there was a kid in my school who got his first pro contract at 18 and was on like £1,200 a month playing football. Decent wage, very good football player, and he works in Scania now, and it's like the kind of like conversion rate into pro is so slim. You're not going to tell like a 10-year-old you're not going to be a football player. You know, it's almost like just make sure you've got listening lessons essentially.
Yeah, you kind of want to. It's really hard.
What do I know?
It's really hard in it because you kind of. Realistically, to achieve at football, you do need to forego anything else. You've got to. Do you mean you've got to? When you should be revising, you probably should be training, or you should. But you can't say that. Do you mean you kind of? It's a balance that you want them to kind of get.
Yeah, and I think as well the ones that like, okay, for instance, you think of Ravel Morrison, who was at United.
Yeah.
Like the amount of pros that have said about him being one of the best players they've seen, best young players they've ever seen, that never really kind of like, you know, it never really happened for him in his professional career. As you think of the amount of kids that haven't even made it pro, where that's been the case, because like his attitude, it seemed anyway, was pretty shit.
Yeah.
And I've worked with kids that have been very good ability-wise football, but their attitude hasn't been there.
No, and that's part of being good enough, is having a good attitude.
Right?
You're not good. You're not. If your attitude's wrong, you're not good. You're not good enough. You're not talented. Part of being talented is being a good listener and a good learner and a good teammate. That is part of being talented.
Yeah. I gave a right dressing down to one of the lads I work with over the fact that he's a very good football player, right? And he's in a few academy setups, like people sniffing around him. And they were doing PE and they picked a team. And he saw his team and immediately went, oh, my team's shit, right? And that he shouldn't be saying that, regardless, you know. I went, take your bib off and sit down. And he was like, oh, I don't want to play anywhere, they're rubbish. And I said, you got to realise that all the kids he was like with 5 kids, right? You weren't the best ability-wise. I said, but they might have turned around and gone, oh my God, like we're with so-and-so. This is going to be great because they're really athletic. I said, but you've automatically looked at them and written them off. And he was like, oh, I just don't care. And I said, so well, you can just don't care sitting down there and watching the rest of PE because like you're not doing it. And I made him apologise to his team members afterwards. And they were almost a bit like dumbfounded, going like, why is he saying sorry? And I repeated exactly what he said to them or about them. And they were still a bit like, why has he said that? And it was almost like, because I think embarrassment's a really powerful emotion. You know what I mean? You can learn a lot from it. And I was like really trying to show him up to go, think about what you've just done there. You've written off all these people. And fair enough, you might play within teams that have kids that are very gifted at sport, but you know what gives you the right to go, oh, they're shit? It's like your attitude shit.
Yeah, so, exactly. You know, so if that was Callum, if that was my lad, if that was my favourite kid when I was coaching, he would have thrived in that situation. He would have got everyone playing well, loving it. Yeah, and played well himself. That's the difference in it, and that's why the Callums of the world are the favourites. And I always think that when like a manager keeps picking a player and the fans are like, well, they're picking him, it'll be something that we're not seeing. It'll be something how he is with people. It'll be something he's doing in training. It'll be something you can't measure on stats.
I remember when we went on football tour, I must have been about 16, went to Holland, and I was told secondhand that the assistant manager had made a comment about me being a good member within the group, right? Yeah. And albeit I wasn't like the best player, they just made a point like I take the piss out of it now, going, I'm here for morale, you know? Because I would always have a laugh and a joke and stuff like that. And it was, like I remember once, right? This was under 18s. We won the league at under 17s, right? And then we went into under 18s on a Thursday night, and the standard just swallowed us. Like it was so good. For instance, I played against one lad, a black guy with dreadlocks, one weekend, one Thursday night. Couldn't get near him, and I said to my manager at half time, I was like, "You're gonna have to take me off. Like I can't even foul him. Like, he's just too good." And then when we did the second leg, he wasn't there because this white kid was like playing right wing, and I was like, "Where's the kid with the dreadlocks?" He was like, "Oh, he's playing for England tonight," and I was like, "Oh right, okay, that makes loads of sense." But when going back to this thing about like morale and kind of, you know, a bit of I enjoyed football, but I had a laugh with it as well. Yeah. Took it seriously, but you know, I imagine I wouldn't say like the Gaza of the group, but you know what I mean. It's jovial.
So you get like
a kid called me.
Go on, mate. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say a lad had the ball. I took it off him. He went through me. The referee blew up for a free kick, and the kid gets up and he goes, "I didn't even fucking touch him." And I went, "Well, you did." I said, "I took the ball around you. You went through me," just like that to him. And he went, "Oh, you're a cocky cunt, you aren't you?" And we're about 16. And I said, "I wouldn't say I'm cocky. I say I'm confident. And I'm definitely not a cunt." I said, "Ask any one of my teammates. I'm a really nice guy." and like a few of my mates around, like, he is.
He's sound. Like, but it's like but to be like a second choice goalkeeper is a real skill, because you're not playing. You're there to mainly in case something goes wrong. You're there to actually support. So when I think at England, we've got 2 goalkeepers. Like we've got a definite number 1 who's. The goalkeepers can see, by the way, in our sport. Just
right, okay.
So that we've got a definite number 1 and then a number 2. And when the number 1 makes a save, the number 2's off the bench, clapping, like loving it. And I think that's what you want to see. Good. Yeah, it's great. But it's very hard. It's hard to be a number 2 goalkeeper.
Yeah, I imagine, because it's, you know, you different type of role, but you've still got to be part of that group, haven't you?
Yeah. So that's
which is,
you talk about like a good member of the group. if you're a number 2, if you're decent in goal and you're great around the lads, you'll keep getting contract. You'll keep getting signed.
Yeah, millions a year for just being a nice guy.
Yeah.
But I suppose that's the point about this lad who now works in Next, right? Because very good football player. Mind you, he's not commented on his character. What he has said is that this lad was a machine, right? And I was mesmerised. In form one day after we'd had a match, I got everyone calm and started praising this lad. Let's call him Joe. Now, what I was meant to say was, Joe, you never stop running, right? You put me to shame as I can't even run for the boss. What I actually said was, Joe, you were amazing last night. You make me hot just watching you. Cue the silence. Which, from what they were meant to say and what they did say, that is so far apart. You know what I mean? It's not even like there's the odd word. That is a completely new sentence. And then they've just finished it with, it wasn't long after that I hung up the sweaty Lynx Wenger coat for no other reason, for the fact that I couldn't be asked. And that's how they finished it, which I think is a nice way to round it off. But I'm not entirely sure. You know, they might have lost the dressing room on the "you make me hot just watching you," and they've just gone, do you know what? We need to get him out.
Yeah, I love
let's get a new manager.
I love the journey he's been on there. You know, he's kind of reluctantly got involved in the first place. Been accused of racism. Been a bit weird with a kid in a form room, then just jacked it in because he can't be arsed anymore. I'm not quite sure what the message is. Lovely, great to listen
to. It's well, I've been doing, I suppose, like a teacher or the student, right? And it's a bit one-sided this because it's got multiple events, but all coming from the teacher.
Yeah.
I think the teacher seems dead sound. Like, you know, one, they're giving up the time to go and do it.
Yeah.
And dealing with someone that's accused you of being racist, like, that's a slippery slope.
And he's probably done it in a right way. Like, you might have said to him, unfortunately, there might be a time in your life where that is the case, but that this isn't one of those times. You need to recognise, you know, it's it's a hard one, isn't it? It's a hard one.
Would you ever go back into coaching?
No, I've actually done.
Right. Okay.
You know what? I would if, but not my own. I don't think I'd ever do my own kids' team. You know, if I had a kid, it'd have to be the right situation. Because unfortunately, but then at the same time, if my son or daughter was playing and the coach was a prick, I couldn't not. Because I was good at it. I was really good at it, and I couldn't watch somebody doing a bad job, if that makes sense. I'd have to just, I'll do it.
Yeah. That's a fair point. I really miss playing football, me, and it's one of them where eventually, if there comes a day when I am a father, I would 100% encourage my kids to get involved in a sport. It doesn't just have to be football, but like I think sport is so good for teaching kids so many different games and lessons. You know, like building a confidence in themselves. But
it's
one day down the line.
It gives you loads. You know, like if you think you're. Like you've mentioned, it's good to know what your super strength is. Like you mentioned, your super strength was, it's pretty hard work actually. Your super strength, but you weren't bad at crossing it either. So that's life, and you play. You've got your things you can absolutely bank on, which is your work ethic, and then you've got something else you're good at. So just do that, and then be sound, and you'll be all right in life or whatever team you're in.
That's a fair point.
It's like anything, isn't it?
So, what would you say? You're on the teacher's side then for this?
For that story, I think he seems a good guy. I think he seems a sound guy. I think it's hard, and school football was quite hard because I don't know. It's just because why ain't the PE teacher doing it?
I don't know. They've sacked it off, and all they've done is supply him with a coat. Which a sweaty Lynx one, but still they've got some kit. I played in a couple of school football matches, and I remember going to a school that was called St Paul's, and my mate Brownie, there was a lad who was basically sat outside in the corridor. He'd obviously done something in the class, but we didn't know him. And my mate Brownie was just goading him. He was like, had his hands on the edge of the table, and there must have been about 15 lads for football, and this one kid sent outside. So naturally, you're going to be a bit intimidated.
Yeah.
And Brownie was the only one that had his hands on the table and was looking at me. He went, "Why have you been sent out of class? St. Paul's. What have you done? What have you said? Oh my God. Have you cussed God?" And this kid was just looking at him, but Brownie just wouldn't stop going at him. And I was just like, fucking hell. And we ended up getting twatted as well.
Yeah, actually the thing you kind of see, it's good to go and, as a kid, to go to other schools. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but like we'd play, like we're kind of out of the way here. We're probably about 20 minutes from Birmingham, 20 minutes from Cov, but we're in a town.
Right.
So like you've got like the hard kids at school, think that whatever. Then when you go to like an inner city school, you very quickly see them shrinking themselves. And actually some of the quieter lads who aren't as brash, but they've actually got more confidence, or they've seen more the world. They might have cousins that have from those areas, and you can kind of see they're actually surprisingly more comfortable in their environments. I always think that, like, I'd always be okay in prison. I know it sounds ridiculous to say, because my personality, my personality isn't I'm really hard, I'm the top dog. Because my personality is, let's take it as it comes. I'd be better because I'm working with it. I'm not working against it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. But at the same time, you're not going to end up as someone's bitch. You know what I mean? You know where the line is. You're like,
yeah. Well, I hope I'd have to get. I think I'd just get the right people around me so that didn't happen.
Yeah,
I'd be if I was going to be someone's bitch, it'd be the right person. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I wait for the right one.
Yeah, social climber.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
That's cool. So I was going to ask you, right? What was your involvement with this this grassroots coaching book that you did?
So I basically I think it was not last year, the year before, I just started a Twitter account for basically a stepdad who got roped into running his stepson's football team and very quickly started taking it way too seriously. So I started a Twitter account.
Like a fictional character.
It's a fictional character, yeah. He's a proud stepdad, coach, and dad in that order. And he just starts running his stepson's teams, takes it way too seriously. And then when the pandemic came, so it was a Twitter account. And when the pandemic came, I wrote his memoirs of how to take his first season in charge of the team.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and
is this you?
Go on, mate.
Is it like a Frankenstein of different coaches?
It is really. It's kind of a coach I had when I was a kid, my mate's dad, and then some of the parents, but also just generally just the world of junior football. Yeah. I think it's so rich. There's like so much comedy in it. It's parents being thrown together who would never hang out with each other. It's kids being oblivious while they're all taking it way too seriously. And I'm trying to do I've done a script and stuff, trying to do like a TV thing eventually with it. But we're
sweet, mate.
Yeah, I think it's never been done. It's never been done. Like football, a lot of people try like these non-league spoof things, whereas this would be a scripted, because the football's almost irrelevant. It could be scouts.
It's more the family life.
Yeah, it's family life. That's it. It could be scouts. It could be bloody amateur dramatics. It could be dancing, but it just happens to be football that's brought these people together. So yeah, no, it's good fun, man, doing that.
That's ace, mate. Because I've not had a chance to read the book yet, but I just saw it. It's linked on your Twitter, and I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
But so, how many years ago did you get it going?
Like 2018? No, 2019.
Christ, mate, you've got like 7,500 followers on that as well.
I think I'm about 11,000 now. It's because it's in the sweet spot of some people think it's real.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I didn't know if it was like you and someone else. I'd put it together, but
it's it's in the sweet. I think all the best comedy characters, you want to catch the people that take it seriously as well. That's what you want. And I think if people are taking it seriously, that means you're getting close to what real life is. Do you know what I mean? So like Gary Poundland used to get it. You know Gary Poundland? He's like a character.
That's the guy with the glass. You just did a pulp with him, didn't you?
Yeah. So he's like a character comedian in the Midlands, and you get people thinking, "Who's this thick idiot?" Whereas obviously it's a character. Same with
it's like
Partridge.
People think Keith Lemon. People think Keith Lemon's a real person. It's like no.
Yeah, no, exactly. What's wrong with his wrist? It's been in cast for 7 years.
Yeah, he should go Booper. get it sorted
Yeah,
out.
man. Have you ever done anything like character based? Have you ever tried like character stuff?
I've done bits and pieces within my stand up. Like I'm, I was decent at drama at school.
Yeah.
And I think I'm good at voices and things like that. So when doing a piece of stand up that involves a character, I will fully lean into it.
Oh, that's good.
In terms of stuff that's like scripted, I did Howard a few years ago.
Yeah, I remember that actually. He was a Welsh guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, from a ton of pandy. It was just a bit of a brain fart. Essentially, I had this idea for a guy preparing for a job interview while he's having a shave in the mirror and him just talking to himself. And then from there, it turned into what it ended up, which was like 5 episodes. And it was a bit mental because the first one went out, people liked it, and then I was like, oh shit, I've got to do another one. So my mate would pick a date from the end of the month, and I would start writing it from the start of the month, and then we'd find the spot in the middle.
Yeah.
And it was all done on favours and freebies and stuff like that. And the first one was done with 4 guys in a bathroom, and then the last one, episode 5, we had a crew of about 30 people.
Wow.
Built a set from nothing.
Yeah.
And it was great. Like I really, really enjoyed it, and I'd be up for doing more stuff that is character based. I think I would like to try and do something that was within my normal voice. You know what I mean? Like me now.
Yeah.
And
you can't ever force that. It comes when it comes. It kind of is an amalgamation of lots of little things you've thought over the years and lots of little character, and then eventually it just forms into, it becomes this thing.
Yeah, because like I constantly write ideas down, and I write loads of little sketches and scripts and stuff like that. Yeah. Like I wrote a script over lockdown, which was about a National Geographic photographer, okay, who loses his eyesight, and he essentially is forced to move back home. But the reasons why he left home have been left unresolved, and the reason why he's come back, his family are in the dark about it because he's not told them he's going blind. So I started writing this character, which was called Miles, and I really enjoyed doing that. But that was way more like drama based than comedy. The laughs were within family life, but it wasn't punchlines.
It wasn't a sitcom.
So for instance, I look at the stuff you pump out on your Twitter, right, and they are so simple and like effective, them little videos, and you're catching there like them nuances of everyday life, but within various different, and albeit it's, you don't change your voice.
No.
You might be a little bit more exaggerated in terms of your animation and delivery of lines.
It's weird, isn't it? Because you say, I don't change anything, but it's also not, people know it isn't me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's the bit that it's really good, and I've sat there for ages thinking, what is my version of that?
Yeah,
because I do want to do more stuff like that, because I know I can, but I say it's finding that sweet spot, and you're really good at unpicking them. Like the one that really tickled me, right? Albeit it's never happened to me. But I immediately watched the one you did about table magicians, right?
Yeah.
Like being away with your wife and kids on holiday, and just immediately thought, what would my dad be like in that situation?
Yeah.
Right.
But
it's so relatable.
But that probably comes from, you've ever MCing or something, you get speaking to like a bloke, and he's just needlessly defensive from the off because his ego is getting in the way of this fun interaction we might have. And that it probably comes when I always think that, like, where did that come from? Because you get the idea, but it comes from somewhere, and that's probably where that one comes from,
Because so when you're putting them together, do you have then like a list of like ideas you might put down, or do you just go, all right, today, this is in my head, and I'll film that?
I have it. Yeah, sometimes it's like that, or sometimes I'll make a note. I've started more so making a note on my phone and then letting it kind of grow a bit. Because I've done it in the past, been guilty of this, like, well, that's a good idea, put it out. Whereas if I'd have waited a day, I would have had 3 more jokes in it, or I would have. So it's you can overthink it, and also I wouldn't put any pressure on yourself. If you have an idea, do it, but don't sit around feeling bad for not having ideas, because that's completely stifling as well.
It's just more the like. I would love to do a character that is, and I think Howard was kind of that, where all people knew it wasn't really me. It wasn't beyond reality. Like, you know, him as a person in the real world.
It wasn't a massive jump, was it? It was somebody we know, we know, somebody we could imagine.
Yeah, and there was people that got in touch with me saying, they were like, out of all the stuff you've done, like I really enjoyed that, and because it was such a brain fart at the time, I just didn't necessarily think too much of it. And even now, like a couple of weeks ago, someone mentioned it again to me, and I think, is that staring me right in the face? Like, do I need to do more with that? But trying to figure out what the next step would be for that person within their world is
sometimes things are just a little fun thing. You know, it doesn't have to. Not everything's got to inform a bigger idea or trying to get it onto this. Let's have meetings with these. Sometimes it's just, that was funny. I did it. Do you know what I mean? It's like if you didn't do stand up, you do that, and like you just in a year's time you look back, remember that when I did that? That was funny. But because we're so in this striving career thing, you can kind of.
That's probably I've never looked at it that way before. You are, as you say, you just take it as it comes, don't you, Josh?
Yeah, I try to. Well, I do worry. I kind of this is a point I've got to rather than my natural. Like some things I'll take as they come, but other things I'm not gonna. Comedy, anything we do, mate, it's supposed to be, especially doing comedy, it's supposed to be fun and a laugh. You can very quickly end up taking it far too seriously, can't you? I think everyone's guilty of that.
Yeah, 100%. Like for instance, me starting this podcast, someone gave me the idea back in September because I posted a video online of I was moaning about a kid I worked with, and he just had a really shit attitude. And one day I called him out in the class and said, the amount of time you spend moaning, right? If we were all on a desert island, I said I'd eat you first, right? Because I couldn't stick with all the shit that comes out your mouth, right? And I said I'd eat you slowly, and then afterwards, someone got in touch with me and said that was really funny. You should do a podcast about teachers sharing stories. So I thought, all right, okay. And since I've been doing it, I've really, really enjoyed it. But I made an announcement on the last episode, the fact that I'm going to serialize it, so I'll turn it into terms.
Yeah,
you know?
Good idea.
So because I've got people keep coming back to listen to it. Listeners isn't a problem; it's the stories.
Yeah.
And I've kind of like burnt through my piggy bank, so I didn't want to dilute the show.
No, you're right.
And do it a disservice, and overkill it. I'd rather have 20 episodes that were great, and then come back in 6 months' time with another 20 than it be 20 great, 20 lukewarm.
I don't know if you could do this, but you could always do like a revision episode. Kind of.
I was going to have an end of year awards.
I just I've got to go shortly, host. I'm coming on my lunch hour, but something just came to me, mate. Talk about your dad. I saw you in Edinburgh after you just come out your show when your dad had been.
Right.
And you told me your dad was really beaming afterwards. He was really proud of you.
Mate, yeah. He's like, of all the people that I thought would have an issue with me doing comedy, he is the one person that is like, this is what you're like meant to be doing. Definitely stick at this. And that does mean the absolute world to me because, like I say, my dad, I know he wouldn't lie to me.
Exactly.
And there's times when he goes, that didn't work or whatever, but it's not that I'm saying a punchline and looking at him. But when he came to Edinburgh, he was like over the moon. And my dad has seen me eat shit on stage. He's seen me do great. And then there's other times where the best bit is when other people in the crowd have come up and said, really, really enjoyed that, or like, where can we see you again and stuff like that. And to see him be like, he's almost like reverts back to being a little boy. Like I took him in a green room once around a few famous people, and he was just like, my dad's a very big character. But to see him there, he was almost like, where do you want me to sit? I was like, whatever you want, Like
it's so far out of their world, isn't it? Do you mean it's especially like I think my dad's probably a bit similar to yours in terms of like age and background and stuff. It's so far out of their, but they've also got a respect for it, and he'd never give you advice on that, because he'd give you advice on football because that's the thing he knows, but he just supports you in this. Do you mean it's just like, I could never do that. I can't. I could never do it. So fair play,
Yeah,
you'll be there if your son does comedy. Be better, be funnier. Get loud.
Get to that punchline quicker.
Yeah.
But no, thank you very much for coming on, mate.
No,
I really,
pleasure,
really appreciate
mate.
it. It's been lovely chatting. Is there anything you'd like you would like to plug before you shoot?
Maybe, yeah. If you can get onto Grassroots Coach Twitter, which is Grassroots Coach, but the H is a 5.
Right, okay. I'll put all it in the show notes as well,
so.
all the handles. But I would recommend to anyone that is listening to go and check out your Twitter videos. They are very, very good.
Nice one.
And they seem to get a lot of love. So I'd love to have you on another episode in the future when I've got some more stories lined up.
Yeah, definitely, mate. My pleasure.
All right, well, look after yourself, mate, and I'll hopefully see you soon.
Take it easy.
So there you have it. That was me, Josh Pugh, and you now know why I look back at my dad as being a psycho. Very different man now. I mean, I still want to play five-a-side with him, but very, very different man now. Thank you very much to the teacher that sent that story in, because I really, really enjoyed that, and it would have been interesting to have known what would have happened if you'd stayed on in the job. I mean, the fact they gave you the Arsene Wenger coat, you know, they must have been serious about you filling this void as the manager. But thank you very much for sending it in, and the cheek of that lad as well to say you didn't pick him because of the colour of his skin. It's like, no, because you were shit, mate. I really wish you said that to him, because I don't know, when kids try and pigeonhole you for being a bastard, it's they've got to be told, and that's a pretty big no what that kid did. But you handled it like a pro, as I say. What was it? The bollocking that high fives your diaphragm on the way out. Made me laugh. Also took me back to my footballing days. But thank you very much to everyone that's been listening. If you've enjoyed the episode, please do share it around, tell your mates. The people keep coming back to it every week, and I do sincerely appreciate that. I know I harp on about it every week, but it just means that you guys are enjoying it, and I'm enjoying making it, so we're all getting something from it. So thank you very much. Please do spread the word. As I say, I am on the hunt for teacher stories for season 2 or term 2 of the staff room. So if you know a teacher, send them the podcast, get them listening, and get them to send them stories over to me, because I'll be coming back shortly. Not entirely sure when, but you know, it'll be this year, with new guests, new stories, and new episodes. So next week I've got Rich Wilson on the podcast, and not decided yet which story I'm going to do. I'm tossing up between 3 of them, right? They're all corkers, but Rich Wilson is a dynamite comedian, probably one of the best MCs in the country, and fantastic comedian, so very excited to have him on. If you do want to get a feel for Rich beforehand, go and check out his podcast, Insane in the Man Brain, which is, fantastic podcast. I've listened to some great episodes on it. The one that I would highly recommend is the one with Dane Baptiste or Ishan Akbar. Both very good episodes, but they talk a lot about mental health, and but through the lens of a comedian. So entertaining listening, but quite heartfelt, but just good listening overall. So if you're looking for a new podcast, Insane in the Man Brain. But until then, as ever, look after yourselves and take it easy. The Staff Room podcast is produced by me, Harry Sticchini, artwork by Poppy Spinks, and the soundtrack by James McGraw.